Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode on ForReel. I am here with the ForReel team, and we are going to be talking weapons, baby. That's right. So get out your potato peelers, get your bowl of water, crack some twigs, and enjoy this incredible discussion we're going to have. There is so much to unpack here. So before I introduce our guests, let's just go over Weapons real quick. So Weapons is the sophomore feature, written and directed by Zach Cregger. Very, very briefly, it takes place in the town of Maybrook, where at 2:17 a.m., 17 children from a single classroom disappear into the night without a trace and never come back. And that is where our story starts. Joining me today is Marty. How you doing today?
Pretty good today.
Excellent. We've got Luca.
How's it going?
And Ethan.
Yellow.
All right. So we will start this discussion by just kind of giving our general thoughts about Weapons. We're going to be spoiler-free for probably the first handful of minutes or so, and then we will dig into spoilers. Weapons is a movie that is best seen spoiler-free. The less you know about it, the better. So if you have not seen Weapons and you don't want anything spoiled, even as we're talking around Weapons in the beginning, I highly recommend you just go watch the movie and then come back and see it. Cregger he excels when you know nothing. That is the best way to watch his movie. So Weapons, probably one of my most anticipated films of the year. So I was so stoked to see this movie. I adamantly avoided all trailers, all spoilers, all reviews. I managed to see Weapons as blind as I saw Barbarian, and that turned out to pay massive dividends because I knew nothing outside of the log line I just gave at the top of this episode. That was it. That's all I knew. I knew who was in the movie, kind of, because there's some surprises that I had no clue were showing up. But overall, as far as I'm concerned, real short, Cregger's 2 for 2. So Marty, we'll start with you. Give me your general opinion or thoughts about Weapons.
I've been so excited for this movie for years. I think at one point Rooney Mara was attached and I was just like, oh, it's going to be a good one. And to me, it did not disappoint. I just went out of it and I just started thinking about all these other fears that I've had and all these generalized anxieties, when it comes to just, I don't know, my health, my mind, just the whole consciousness of what's going on in society right now. I just could not stop thinking about it. And I just really appreciate this movie for opening me up that way.
Yeah. Luca.
Oof, I gotta dance around. Man, this is gonna be hard. Okay,
well, I know it's tough. It's hard.
God, there is some. I really enjoyed it. It's been growing on me since I saw it on Wednesday. There's just so much to unpack. Again, I'm really trying to keep my lips zipped. Man, I think the movie kind of tackles this era we're in right now, and I don't think it's a spoiler to analyze this, but it's definitely about our current climate in the States after 9/11, after Columbine, stuff like Sandy Hook, stuff like that, where we're all kind of we're all on edge already because violence is seeping into every part of our lives now. I mean, it's it's seeping into schools, it's seeping into suburbia, it's going everywhere. And I think Weapons is about that, and it's also about how sometimes that violence is used to weaponize each other into hating each other,
Yeah. No, that's great. And don't worry, we'll unpack it specifically later. I promise. It's fun to kind of hear you guys dance around it. So I like this experiment. This is fun. All right, Ethan.
So I am a big Barbarian fan. I've not seen anything else Cregger has done, but I am still waiting for my goddamn Barbarian Blu-ray to be announced so I can own it and put it behind me during a podcast like this, but I can't. So I settle for films that he said inspired Weapons. I saw it yesterday at 2:17 p.m. I thought that was really clever how they did. did I see it the day before yesterday? God, I can't remember. It's still so fresh in my mind, and like it's still sticking with me that it feels like it's right at the front of my brain, that it's really all I'm thinking about, I guess. But there's so much in this film, and something I mentioned in my Letterboxd review is that it gives you just enough, like it's putting sugar at like the tip of your tongue and you're like following, it's like, please, like I want more. It's giving you just enough to continue to want more, but it's teasing you. It I guess that's the best way of putting it. It's correctly teasing you, but even by the end, you're not upset that you didn't get more. You see this and you're like, there's so much in your brain that you could theorize about it and create, I guess, your own headcanon, but in the perfect way. I know some people will come out of this being like, well, that didn't make any sense, even though it perfectly does. It makes enough sense that a literal child can figure it out. Not to spoil, I guess, but great stuff.
Yeah. You touched on a couple things, so I do want to, and I know this is going to be hard without going into spoilers, guys. I know, but I have the power, and this is fun. This is very, very fun for me watching you guys try to do this. So let's talk about that discourse, though, because I think this is a really important aspect of the film, even without getting into specifics or spoilers. There's been a lot of discussion about this movie not being about anything. And there's been, people are citing a lot of things that Cregger himself has basically pushed up against. So even some of the things that you kind of mentioned, Luca, about violence in suburbia and it kind of permeating everything that we have in our society in the States. There's a lot of I guess imprints of kind of school shootings and scapegoating and political divide and all of those types of things. And Cregger has all but said none of those things are here. That was not his intention. And he said those things in interviews, and mostly what he's been trying to convey for himself, without spoiling anything, is he had a death that was very personal to him, and that's when he started writing the script. And the script was. It just kind of came from a place of grief and unknown, which I think are all in there. But I want to kind of have this discussion a little bit about opinions about this movie not having anything to say. And then also one of the things that you had mentioned, Ethan, about kind of creating your own headcanon, where we might all identify school shootings, but the director himself has been pretty adamant about saying, yeah, no, I don't want that. That's not what this is about. So we'll touch back to you, Ethan. So how have you felt about kind of that discourse here?
I feel like I haven't really seen this discourse, to be honest. I don't know if I left some words muted on Twitter or something.
Fair, maybe I am chronically online, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, and also I'm Canadian, so I don't really have that much of a connection to school shootings because every other person in Canada doesn't have an assault rifle, so we can't really do that here. Check out Bowling for Columbine by Michael Moore for more on that subject. But I got a lot more of the personal collection and dealing with loss as opposed to the violence in America connection. So you chose the wrong guy to mention that part. Let's go to Marty, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Marty.
I totally disagree with the discourse that this is not about anything. Like I was saying earlier, this film has a lot of fear. You've got people being afraid of abandonment, people being afraid of themselves and having to deal with substance abuse issues. You've got people who are fearful of disease, people who are fearful of their bodies decaying, people losing control of their bodies. And there's just so many different aspects of what fear is to somebody. And in the title of Weapons, how we ourselves can turn into weapons onto each other. I feel like the film really does a good job of just kind of working with this mass paranoia that everybody's kind of feeling now, and showing kind of how each individual is dealing with their own issues and their own fears, and how it just kind of grows like this fungus and just kind of takes you over, and it's all you can see your world through now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of want to echo that, just because whenever something tragic happens in the States, we're always like looking for somebody to point at rather than looking for the problem to point at. And I think Weapons is very much so about that. I mean, it's in like the opening, maybe like 1 minute, so I don't think it's a spoiler to say that, you know, the movie basically doesn't, you know, it makes note to make fun of law enforcement and how dumb they are and how like incompetent they are. So I think like it's just, you know, like nothing gets done in the States, and, you know, these types of things are still going to happen, and we're not going to get, again, try not to spoil, we're not going to get the ending that Weapons has. Our ending is a lot more bleak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with a lot of you guys, and I or all of you, because I do think that this movie is about something. And I think one of the great things that Cregger does is he might not make things in with the intentionality that we might have in the way that we interpret them. And I think that's okay, right? I think it's okay for an artist to create something that you get something else out of, and you can both be right. So he can say, hey, I never intended for Weapons to be politicized. I never put that in here. This isn't about this. But if that's what's resonating with you, if that's what's sticking in your mind as you watch these images, as you watch the story unfold, well, then it's there. You're not necessarily wrong or negated because the artist had a different intention. That's part of just interpreting art. So I do find that whole discourse. I mean, look, you might have walked away from it feeling that it didn't satisfy you, and you might have been a little let down. You might have been disappointed. And this movie's not above criticism by any means. But to walk away and say, like, oh yeah, this movie's about nothing, none of these characters matter, you're missing a lot that either is there or not there. And honestly, you need to rewatch Weapons. That's my opinion.
I just feel like to get that read, you watch it with your eyes closed and your fingers plugged in your ears.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Alden Ehrenreich's plot line alone is pretty political.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I have something to mention. You referenced that a film can have meanings that may not be intended. I think it was Spielberg, who, it might also have been Marty, but I'm leaning more towards Spielberg. Yes, Spielberg with The Fabelmans, I think it was, where he was someone who was interviewing him was like, yeah, this is about like your parents or whatever. And he's like, oh my God, it is. Where someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, or one of you if you know what I'm talking about, but where subconsciously, just because you're not consciously writing it into the text, it doesn't mean that's what is there, because we all have our experiences and where we come from. And just because you're not intending for it to happen, that could still be the effect, whether you subconsciously wanted it to be or not. And like people will say, or even Cregger will say, oh, I didn't mean for that, it can still be there. And what a film is what we get out of it. And that's what I like the most about directors like Lynch, who refuse to explicitly say what it is. And that way, we, the audience, can get more out of it by reading into it ourselves.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because my next question is going to be about the inspirations for Weapons. Zach Cregger is clearly pulling, not just from his own life, but clearly pulling from some of the great thriller artists of our time. Some of the best thriller filmmakers, writers, whatever. Even PTA, I would say, is actually a thriller maker. Just he injects more drama into his thrillers than he does that. But all of his movies are thrilling, in my opinion. So let's talk about those inspirations. I promise you guys, we're gonna get into spoilers. I'll stop this experiment here in a minute. But let's talk about like the inspirations, because this isn't necessarily a spoiler, but this movie is not told in a linear fashion. It's broken down into very distinct chapters that all follow a different person that is essentially reliving those same hours through a different perspective. and then they interact with other people at those points in time. So there's a clear inspiration from people like PTA, Tarantino. There's some Lynchian undertones in here. There's clearly, I think I put this in my review, but this is like the best Stephen King film adaptation that's not actually from any Stephen King's work. It feels very Stephen King coded, and it's very clear that Cregger was inspired by those things. So I rattled some of those off, but
which means it doesn't have a direct connection to a Jeffrey Epstein defender in Stephen King.
Yeah.
So you don't have to feel bad about liking this one.
That's good. That's a good addendum. Thank you. So Marty, tell me about we'll do a twofold question. So tell me about how you felt about the nonlinear storytelling, and then how you kind of identified or felt those inspirations that he was pulling from.
The second we switched characters into the other storyline, I was like really loving it. How we were starting to get more context for the story as a whole through everybody's own shared perspective. And I really enjoyed that way, because you don't just drop us in to a normal school day and then maybe 30 minutes later all the kids run off. You're dropped in, the kids have already run off, you're at the parent teacher conference, and you're in it. And then each time we're kind of getting a little bit more and a little bit more of like what's going on. So we're not getting the basic, when writers, I feel like, overwrite introduction, you're getting to know each character through their own experience, which I really, really appreciated. And inspiration wise, I think I saw an interview where he was talking about Fincher actually helping him with a lot of the pre-production and the editing. And I definitely feel like you can see that in there. And another thing with the inspiration, I think he said that the reason they're running like this is because of that famous photo from Vietnam, where the child is running completely like nude or whatever away from the bombing, and they're like doing that same pose, and it's just so upsetting and uncomfortable to, I don't know, see this position. And I do think watching the kids run in the like shadowy darkness, and they're just in that, it's like so uncomfortable. He was even saying too that he saw what was it, The Shining, when he was younger, and just seeing the two little girls standing there like freaked him out, and it's been his goal to kind of recreate that feeling on film. And I definitely felt that when watching those kids just run in that position.
Yeah, kids are creepy inherently, in my opinion. So,
yeah.
Luca.
Oof. Well, all right. I'm gonna start off with the influences. It's funny because I saw people comparing this to Magnolia constantly, and I get it because like there's like a sprawl and there's a lot of characters. Structurally, this is a lot more Pulp Fiction, where you'll see like a plot line intro. I don't know how to. You'll see like a plot line that went on that we've already seen kind of happen in the background while we're watching a new plot line, and it's very interesting to watch unfold because it kind of like. It makes the sprawl wider, but also tightens it at the same time. So, I don't know, there's a lot going on without saying too much. And it's always great to kind of see these little connections between these two things. Like, there's a bit, again, not really a spoiler, but there's a bit where Alden Ehrenreich and Julia Garner wave at each other. It's pretty innocuous, but like the way that, certain events repeat, it gives a lot more clarity to, putting the puzzle pieces together. But in terms of influences, I gotta say, there's this one bit where a character is in a forest and he's looking around, and there's a shot panning, and there's like a tree trunk just very clear in the foreground, and it reminded me so much of this very ominous shot from Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. And it was funny that nobody brought up Prisoners in the comparisons, because this is like deeply Prisoners, like it's very, wintry and dreary, small town. Josh Brolin's character is basically doing the Hugh Jackman. There's a lot to compare it to. So I don't know. I feel kind of underwhelmed that nobody has brought up Prisoners so far, like in terms of all the comparisons I've heard.
We were waiting for you. That's what I knew you were going to do it. So, but no, you're absolutely right. It's super Prisoners coded. Honestly, this is not a spoiler. So story wise, they're not really even close to the same, and they don't unfold in the same way whatsoever. However, I will say that like Prisoners and Weapons would make one hell of a double feature. Now you're going to go have to watch like Aladdin to feel better at the end of it all, but it would make one hell of a double feature. So it's a
both
great
give
call-out.
that PSA of do you know where your kids are at night or something? Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then lastly, Ethan.
So I would have had Prisoners here, but I lent out the Blu-ray to a friend. And Pulp Fiction is actually a red herring because I wanted to talk about the Corrida film Monster from 2023. It is a much better narrative structure comparison than Pulp Fiction because Pulp Fiction goes throughout like a whole week or whatever, like different points, like disconnected when they are. Like the movie starts at the end and then eventually gets there at the end of the runtime. But Monster follows it follows teachers, parents, and school kids, and it has the similar thing where it will, okay, now we're following one person, now we're following the teacher, now we're following the kid who is in that class and also is the parent's kid. So I recommend watching that film if you want something that is structurally similar and it's not a horror. It's more of a drama and a little bit of coming of age tossed into there, but it has similar themes of like finding your child, like Prisoners and Weapons have. And Prisoners was something that I watched an interview that previous guest of the podcast, Zach, sent to me, where he went over a bunch of films that either consciously or unconsciously inspired the film. And Magnolia was mentioned, Prisoners was mentioned, Pulp Fiction was mentioned, where he said, oh, I didn't even mean for it to be like Pulp Fiction. So there's a lot of influence in this film, but it definitely has its own voice. I think is important to get across, because the more we hammer home influence this, influence that, we might start to get away from what makes this film special. But we'll finally get into spoiler segments, so we'll be able to actually say what's going on here.
With that, and actually that's a great call out. If you guys haven't seen Monster, Monster is phenomenal. It was one of my favorite films of 2023. That movie just devastated me. So, but no, it's a great call out because structurally it does kind of follow that same thing. Okay, so it's spoiler time. I know you guys have all been waiting. I know. This movie, I can't tell you how hard this movie is to talk around for an extended period of time. It is one of those movies that the more you want to talk about it, the more you have to do specifics, and you've got to start getting into specific scenes, specific characters, specific plot lines. It's very crucial to really getting the whole picture of the story. So if you do not want anything spoiled, if you've been hanging around for the last 25 minutes, I gave you guys quite a bit of time, but we are going to go full spoiler now. So if you don't want it spoiled, stop, go watch Weapons, and then come back, and you'll be good. Yeah, everyone's saying get out of here. Okay, so let's actually just start with we'll just start with the story. So now that we're in full spoiler, we can just hash out the story itself. If you want to get a little bit more into detail about story structure, certain plot lines that you enjoyed the most, characters you enjoyed the most. So let's just get into story, because I think this is where I'm going to go out on a limb and say most of the negative discourse really comes in the last 20 minutes. I think the last 20 minutes of this movie is where most people are getting really hung up. because I think the tension building, I think the nonlinear storytelling, the way it starts to put all of these puzzle pieces together just leaves you on the edge of your seat of just complete intrigue. And then when you get to the end and you discover that this is really just a pretty fucked up fairy tale, and that's kind of all this is at the end of the rainbow is, oh yeah, it was a witch. Like that's the that's the reveal. I feel like a lot of people were pretty underwhelmed or let down by that. But for my part, at first I was like, wait, really? That's the light at the end of this twisty, windy tunnel is a witch pulling a hocus pocus? What? Okay. But I found it deeply satisfying, and the more I think about it, and the more I think about kind of some of those Lynchian undertones where nothing bad happens in suburbia until it does. And then there's just this deep underbelly of people who seem like they fit into this world and seem like they're a part of this community, but in reality, they are a dark, sinister force of an outsider that then just boils up all the darkness in everybody else. And Weapons does that. So there's a simplicity to its conclusion, but I found it pretty intriguing. So let's just kind of unpack the story a little bit. Talk me through some things you liked. Luca, we'll start with you.
I gotta shout out my boy Austin Abrams because holy shit was he funny in this movie. I was kind of worried, that how they would depict him, just because he is very clearly homeless in the movie, and I didn't want him to just be completely like the punchline for the whole time, because I feel that would feel a little shitty. But I kind of like how his plot line morphs Alden Ehrenreich's character into the punchline, where like he's just like repeatedly getting stabbed with needles, and like he keeps getting like AIDS scares and stuff like that. It's really stupid, but like fun stupid. God, I really liked Benedict Wong's plotline, actually, because that was where kind of like the oh shit moment happened for me, where like it was coming because you saw him coming on the tree line, arms spread, stuff like that, but you really got to feel for the mechanics of how the people went away and stuff like that. The cutting the hand and dipping it in water, stuff like that. I don't know. It shows the logic of the mystery very interestingly, but it doesn't like give you like a step-by-step tutorial on how to kidnap somebody. So like you do the stick and then you wipe blood on it. No, there's still enough intrigue there for a little suspense and a little like supernatural whatnot.
Yeah, Marty.
I've been really enjoying that where horror is going back in a grim fairy tale way. We had The Substance, which was like Cinderella, Ugly Stepsister, which is Cinderella. We've got Weapons, which basically is kind of like Hansel and Gretel a little bit. Mm-hmm. And some people might not like the little witch aspect. I kind of like that they spelled out for you pretty early on with Julia's car getting painted witch. They just have the wrong witch, but I really enjoy how I think Bring Her Back had a similar thing where you've created this world of possession, and you've got this kind of mystery demonic magic going on, but they don't fully explain it. Together also did a good job of kind of giving you just enough but holding back a lot, and I appreciated that here with Weapons, where you learn a little bit about this character, you learn a little bit about her power, but you don't really know her full connection to this family. Is she really their aunt? I don't think so. How old is this woman really? I don't know. Like, I like putting the mystery, and we can kind of contextualize that for ourselves. I felt like every character had such an interesting story. I like how nobody's perfect. I feel like so many times when you're doing a horror movie, like you try to create the main character being too likable, so you'll root for them in the end. But I like that Julia Gardner's character kind of had this alcoholic abandonment issues. I like that Alden Ehrenreich is kind of he's also an alcoholic, and he's cheating on his wife, and he's having all these kind of issues, and he's got his fear of the homeless, he's got his fear of AIDS and disease and all that. You've got Josh Brolin, who is kind of got this like, I've left my kid behind kind of feeling. And I just love that every character has such, they're deeply layered. It's not just the basic, I'm the sweet, good school teacher, I'm the dad who didn't spend enough time with my kid, you know? I feel like you get to know every character deeply and immensely. Especially, this was kind of more on the comedy side, but I thought it was fun to, like, okay, well, Benedict Wong's character is gay. Let's give them Fruity Pebbles. Let's give them hot dogs, carrot sticks, all this phallic and fruity food. Sure, whatever. I thought that was like a fun little tidbit.
Listen, my fat heart, when they sat down with that 8 hot dog tray, I have been thinking about that. I saw this movie like almost a week ago, and I have not stopped thinking about this 8 hot dog tray.
I have hot dogs for breakfast that day.
I was like, this is
So
ridiculous. This is ridiculous. But I'm also appreciative of the comedy in this movie, because I feel like if they played it too straight, it wouldn't have made the impact that it does. I feel like giving you that little bit of breathing room with the comedy, being able to laugh at the end when all the kids are running, it kind of gives you that relief that you're not going to get otherwise. I feel like with the discourse and the issues with like Barbarian and Weapons, I feel like it's because these are kind of horror comedies or horrors with comedic elements, and they're advertised as these straight horror thrillers. That's where I think some people might be getting a little upset. But I think the comedy is a great relief to take a little bit of the load off when you're leaving the theater and you're not just left with all this existential dread, you know?
Yeah, I think I think that's something we forget about Barbarian, because I would argue that Weapons probably has a better rewatchability than Barbarian. Not that Barbarian isn't rewatchable, but some of that sting is taken off once you kind of put the whole puzzle together. It's the reveal is the juice in this one in Barbarian, whereas in Weapons, like the puzzle pieces themselves are the juice. How they all come together, whatever. You can take or leave it. Truthfully, like it's a witch at the end, and that's whatever your mileage is on that, you know, fine, whatever. But like getting to that point is so tightly wound that rewatching this over and over again, I think it has a lot of value. So, but I do think that we forget how funny Barbarian is. When Justin Long enters the fray in that movie, he is clearly being transported from somewhere else. And there's a good 15, 20 minutes of that movie of just watching him, and you are just laughing. It's just nonstop laughter. So I think that's something that Cregger does really well. And again, whether it's intentional or not, because he would argue that he didn't mean to do comedy in here. And then I've heard in interviews where people just push back and be like, bro, kids running through houses. And like you have intention. Someone is mowing their lawn as these kids run through. Like there's no way that's not funny. And then he'll back down and be like, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny.
And maybe he's playing his cards close to the chest or something like that. There's a lot of really funny stuff in this movie.
Yeah, this movie, there's no way you can tell me you didn't purposefully do that, because to your point, Marty, it is everything else about this movie when it comes to their horror aspects and their thematic elements is so tightly wound and so dread-inducing. It's not necessarily like jump scary. There's jump scares here, but this is an existential experience of atmospheric tension where you just, every new piece that gets added, you were just on the edge of your seat with every single one of these characters. So you need that. And he just does this beautiful diagonal cut between both of them, perfect sides, beautifully symmetrical, of putting that horror and tension together. And I don't think one ever overshadows the other. I think they're perfectly balanced on here. And it's such an incredible skill and incredible tight wire. And then I think the last part, and then I'll go to Ethan, but the last part of what you said, Marty, too, is, all these characters are messy. And that allows you to delve a little deeper into the characters, build in your themes of tension, right? Because these are messy characters, so naturally, like, they're probably not going to make the best decisions. And so when they get trapped in things where you're like, bitch, don't go down there. It's okay, but yeah, she's going to. Like, she's been drinking 2 bottles of vodka over the last like 24 hours. Like, she's not in her right mind, guys. But I do. I think that layers those characters a lot, and it allows you to create that tension. But it also allows you to add a layer of comedy to each one of these people, because yeah, they're all kind of tragic. They're all kind of messy. They're all kind of silly on some level. And that's okay. It doesn't take away anything from what they do. But Ethan.
So I did Flash, The Evil Dead, one of the greatest horror comedies of all time. It's not as comedic as Evil Dead 2, which was a film that Zach Cregger directly mentioned was a heavy influence on Barbarian. So I went into this film understanding that there would be at least a little bit of silliness in there. And I feel like you get just enough teases until the end where it becomes really, really funny, like Lawnmower. And one of the best jokes is that after all the kids and stuff, and Josh Brolin's running through, there's a man in the house! And he's just like unfazed by it. It's so funny. And there's like creepy, unsettling, but might get a giggle out of you earlier. Like Luca mentioned earlier, when going through the forest, there's also oh god, what's her character's name? Who knows?
Gladys.
Gladys.
All that Gladys coming to town.
Where she looks like a clown and not like a witch, and that's what puts, at least into my mind, that there's gonna be a bit of silliness in here, because obviously you had like witch on the car, and that sets up like the thing in the back of your head, like this is a witch hunt. Oh, this is literally a witch. Where I think the first time you see Glenda, what was it again?
Gladys.
Gladys.
The first time you see Gladys is in the forest, correct?
No, I think it's her
no,
dream. Julia,
Yeah, you see her in the
Julia
in both
Garner's
nightmares,
dream.
actually.
on the
Yeah.
ceiling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm curious about that, because I thought it was the same makeup as the kid in the classroom, which is a great complete misdirection, where they're like, oh, is this some sort of demonic thing? No, like she's just having a bad dream, and then it's like, oh, I guess Josh Brolin is also having, and then you could kind of play like there's some sort of like supernatural element there, but oh my god, there's just so much to talk about here. I think what's really interesting is that in the final like 5 minutes, it really keeps it very character emotionally focused, where Josh Brolin goes after his kid, and you see like his problems, where he's so laser focused about like his failures as a parent, where he's not even fucking phased by any of the other kids. He's like, is this my kid? Is this my kid? Is this my kid? And at the end, he's just like, oh my god, it's my kid. It's like, there's all of these other kids here who are just like in a vegetized state, just staring at the fact that they ate and tore apart this clown looking lady. And a lot of the comedy in that bit also is similar to The Substance, another great horror comedy, but that one's way more comedy than this. But it gives you, probably it's just because either the Gladys. Okay, it's probably just because Gladys. I don't know if that's what the. Forgive me, I don't know if that's what she looks like in real life or if it's makeup, but
it's not.
really.
It's not.
Okay,
Amy Madigan does not look like that at all.
Okay, 'cause that's what who's he? What's it? Not Margaret Qualley. Fuck, what's her name?
Demi Moore.
Julia Garner.
Demi Moore. That's what Demi Moore looks like. By the end, right before she gets murdered. Is that like balding, wrinkly, like tiny little hairs running by. So I don't know if that was just a connection my brain made to be like, now you're laughing now. Like this is, you're supposed to laugh now. Yeah. But I think it's so interesting that he only focused on his kid and he's just going immediately home. He doesn't call anybody. He's just leaving. Like the rest of these kids are going to get found somehow. I don't fucking know. I'm getting out of here. Like that wasn't even a thought in his mind. He's just leaving. And Julie Garner's Justine teacher character, she doesn't see the other kids, right? She was busy getting choked out the whole time, I thought. And so she goes upstairs and sees Alex with his parents, and that's the closer she gets as far as what we see in the film. And I thought that was very interesting because of that personal connection she had with Alex. And I love Alex in this movie. I thought all the kid actors were great. I liked how the narration, the kid was not one of the kids that you see at any point in the film. They're just credited as narrator. I thought that was really clever to make it like this is like an urban legend. Well, not an urban legend, it literally fucking happened. With one of the kids. And I thought it was so clever at, like, I think it was Marty you mentioned earlier, but how like the bowl and the twig and the blood, it is never like expositing verbally how this shit works. And that's why it's so strong, in my opinion, is that crack. It's so simple that even a literal child could figure out. That's like what I was mentioning at the beginning, is that he sees this over and over again. So now he's like understood how to do this. And does he like get everything by the end? Like, probably not. Like, he doesn't have the bell, or I don't think he did. But I think that's such a great ultimate comeuppance for our witch character, and her delivery of "oh no" when it happens, and she just knows that it happened. Oh, that was incredible.
Yeah, let's unpack some of that too, because we can get into some specific scenes as well. But I wanna unpack the cast here a little bit, and you can get as granular as you want. It's perfectly fine. But so Kerry Christopher plays Alex, and between this and 28 years later, brand new untested child actors are having a year in 2025, man. They're
being put through the ringer.
Yes, they are. But God, they're being asked to shoulder so much, and they still just do an incredible job. So Kerry Christopher, excellent as Alex. So let's talk about characters, and we can talk about specific scenes and things. I know you kind of did a little bit of this, Ethan. Amy Magnigan shows up as like just this. This movie is already so charged. And she just comes in like Thor on Mjolnir with her electricity and feels transported from somewhere else. Like when she actually starts getting to like, explain and talk to characters, she is so manic and so just wily. And you're just like, what is this woman? What is happening right now? And it is wild. I love it. Go for it, Luca.
Well,
I feel like
I gotta say about that. Well, there's something interesting that picked up on the second watch as to like why she's so dialed up to 11. And so there's a lot of there's some motifs in the movie about parasitism and like that type of thing. Like when they're having their super awesome dinner, Benedict Wong and husband, and they're watching something about like parasital fungus. I think they're talking about cordyceps actually, which shout out Last of Us. But like Julia Garner's teaching about parasitism in class at some point where we're getting one of Alex's vignettes. And that was just kind of an aside for me until I saw it again. And there's a bit where Gladys is talking to Marcus in the pseudo parent teacher conference where Marcus is like, so what's wrong with his parents? And Gladys is like, oh, just a touch of consumption. And so like that's a weird thing. Like, I mean, everybody laughed in my theater, but upon seeing it again, I was like, oh, she's like eating their life force or something like that. Because when she goes to Marcus's house, she has this like youthful energy, and gee, I wonder where she got that from. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And like when she goes to Marcus's house, she's like, I mean, for the whole movie, she's like dialed up to 11. But she's like, oh, what a wonderful house! I bet this is original stuff like that. She's like so, like again, like dialed up to 11. And I think that that upon rewatch, I kind of got like the inkling that, you know, she has been sapping the kids and the parents' life force out of them, which is why they are now in like vegetative states. Because I don't know, I feel like I'd be in a vegetative state if my life force was sucked out of me. But
Yeah.
Amy Madigan, man, holy shit.
I know her best from Uncle Buck, which is one of my favorite childhood movies. So to know her from Uncle Buck, I mean, I know Field of Dreams, and like she's had a long-standing career, but that in particular is where I know her from. So watching her go from her role in Uncle Buck to Aunt Gladys in Weapons, holy shit, what a shift!
Yeah, I want to echo my comparison to Prisoners, because if there's a role I can compare Amy Madigan as Aunt Gladys to, it's Melissa Leo in Prisoners, because there's this very like, you know, there's like this, I don't want to say dainty, but like there's like this like kind of fragile exterior, just because like, oh, this is an old lady, we think they are fragile, and like suddenly, you know, they're the most evil person in the entire town. I don't know, I think there's an interesting connection there.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a good inspiration and character. Marty.
Amy Madigan literally stole the show for me in this. I love her clownish makeup, because she's become so like withered that like this is her idea of like trying to mean youthful, like this bright colored wig, these fun outfits, these interesting glasses, the overdone lips, which like we see it as clownish, but she's just so overtaken that like she's doing any last bit to just pop and look youthful and like look young and fun. And I also agree with what Luca was saying about the consumption. Like she's consuming their life force, and I love those just like little tidbits where you're like, oh, this is a succubus witch, and they're like kind of spelling it out for you, but like they're making you work for it, you know, like. And the kid, I thought, who played Alex was fantastic. Like there's a comedian I like who talks about like kids should not be in movies. Anytime a kid is in a movie, like they should just be talked about off screen or whatever, but you don't see the kid. Like if I had legs, I could kick you. But this last year of 28 years later, and that's the same kid that was in Adolescence, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
No, it's a different one.
That was a who's he, what's it that everyone had.
So we've got 28 years
Mass
later,
hysteria.
Adolescence, Bring Her Back, now Weapons. Like these kid actors are like, they're putting me in my place. They're making me shut up because they're doing such a good job. And I'm like, damn, like you are that young and you can command such presence. Really appreciated that. I liked Julia Gardner for, I would say, 90% of the film, but there was just a few points where I don't know, it felt like she was doing a little too over the top, or I loved her, but yeah, I feel like as the energy got elevated, she was also going maybe a little too beyond. That's just my personal opinion. But Alden Elrich, I think, did fantastic as well. The whole cast really, really understood this script and made it work.
Yeah, I think Alden Ehrenreich's character is the almost mirror image of the Magnolia comparisons. Since you haven't seen Magnolia, I won't spoil it, but there is a cop in Magnolia, and Alden Ehrenreich, so that cop is played by John C. Reilly back when he was actually a dramatic actor. Most people don't remember. So before he met Will Ferrell, he was a dramatic actor. But those two storylines, they're not identical, but like they might as well be related. They are distant cousins of each other.
The mustaches are identical.
Yeah, there you go. Just almost everything that happens in their experiences, outside of like one is supernatural, one kind of isn't. But that's where those when I saw, yeah, right, yeah, that's kind of. But when I first of all, I didn't know he was in this movie, so that was a pleasant surprise. I've come around on Alden Ehrenreich quite a bit because I was really harsh on him after Solo, and then I realized Solo actually isn't that bad, and it's not his fault because he's actually doing pretty well. And so ever since I got over that, everything I've seen him in, I've just been like, damn, that guy is actually pretty good. Like Disney ruins lives out here sometimes. Like he's actually all right. And so he's great in this. Every interaction with him and Austin Abrams is just absolutely riotous. Like I love what those two are doing together. They are so funny. Their energies are so beautifully matched. In that scene that you talked about, both of you guys, when you talked about the consumption line, Benedict Wong's reaction to her, like just his ability to just command face card reactions is phenomenal. Like he is just so taken aback, but like trying to understand at the same time, and it's so good. He's small in this movie, but he is small and mighty. The way he's just so good.
I gotta give props to Benedict Wong's facial acting for like the whole. Oh my god!
His eyes literally look like they're about to bulge out of his face, I'm like, this guy is just working on another level, and I'm loving it.
I remember seeing an image of that on Twitter months ago. I had no idea it was connected to this, so I was like, "Oh, so this movie does get crazy."
I didn't even know his face could do that.
I didn't know anybody was in this movie because I only saw the original like teasers Neon put out of like kids running away. That's all I knew about the movie. And when you hear Josh Brolin you see a back shot of him. Pause. I went like this to my friend Zach, and I was like, and he's like I was like, okay, Josh Brolin's in it. The only cast member I knew was someone who was replaced. I saw a headline being like, Pedro Pascal was going to be in this, but then I had to recast the whole movie. So I thought everyone did a phenomenal job. Even Julia Gardner, who I'm guessing would have been Rooney Mara, but I'm glad wasn't, because Julia Gardner has such like a compassionate like face and complexion and like hair. You look at Julia Gardner in this and you're like, that's like the sweetest kindergarten teacher you ever had in your life. And you remember, I remember that really nice teacher one time. Like there's always like one teacher that like sticks with you. It was my 3rd/4th grade teacher, Mrs. Knockhart. She was just such a lovely, lovely person. And just like every character in the film, you have this depth to every character where, yeah, you'll see this person on the outside, but on the inside, they're like, fuck. And I guess maybe that's something that Life of Chuck could have used more, but I guess it's fine because you had person whose name I can't pronounce correctly, but he was in Lion King reboot and Doctor Strange. Like he...
Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Thank you. I was never going to do that. This is going nowhere. Let me talk about Justin Long's cameo in this movie. Oh my god. That was one of the funniest bits in that movie, and it really relates both this and Weapons to that. There's a bit of men are fucking stupid with like everybody in these movies, but especially Justin Long, because Justin Long's wife was just like, you can't come to my house and watch videos of my child disappearing. What's wrong with you, Josh Brolin? And then Justin Long is like, oh yeah, sure, come on in. And then like you could see the wife in the background just like giving him a fucking death stare. Like how fucking could you?
I don't know how Zach Cregger doesn't think this movie's funny, because I was
like, I don't know either.
Bitches at that.
Yeah, my theater, I mean, laugh out loud, gut busting, clapping type of comedy throughout this movie. I said that this is my Letterboxd review, and I stand by it. But this is by far and away the best use of what the fuck uttered by any human being in a movie, but then also like details our own reaction. When Brolin wakes up from his nightmare and just says what the fuck, I cried. I was laughing so hard. It's such a great line delivery.
Scene a little, just because there's just so much going on in that scene within like less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like there's, again, that's another thing I feel a little like
big gun.
Really, Zach? Yeah, like the big gun. Like I feel like on my first watch, I was like, okay, that image is a little too abstract, but then I realized I was thinking about it a little too hard, because the 217 in my head, this is just what I think about the 217. There are 2 survivors and 17 victims, and there's the big gun in the sky that says 217. Like I don't know how like Zach Cregger said this isn't about school shootings. Like it's very, I mean, I don't know. Maybe his subconscious is just working overtime or something, but like that is very, very, damning imagery. But when Josh Brolin goes back in the house, like god tier level jump scare, by the way, incredible jump scare. But before that, what really got me is just him just at his kid's bed, just crying and saying he can't even bring himself to say that he couldn't say "I love you" to his son. Like there's just like layers of like, well, not only just masculinity, but like all this other stuff just coming out, and it's pretty upsetting. And it's, he's just breaking down, and then he gets this jump scare, and then it's just, what the fuck? And then that's what I'm I don't know.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I think and we're gonna wind down here a little bit, but I'll let everybody just kind of highlight some specific scenes or themes that they really want to dig into. I think that is, particularly with that gun sequence, I think that's something that Cregger subconsciously does, and I don't think even he realizes that he's doing it. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that he writes. Because yes, he's got his own inspirations of real life things that he was trying to process, right? So this is all born out of grief. It's all born out of the loss of a friend and the fear of the unknown. And that's his personal take on that. And then when you put that on the screen, obviously you're going to be able to interpret that however you want. You're going to relate it to your own loss, your own grief, your own fears, your own things, right? But the way that he writes and the way that he's kind of walked through how he's created weapons is he wrote the hook first and then basically unpacked it backwards. So he essentially was like, okay, a woman shows up to a classroom and all the kids are missing. Okay, wait, why are they all missing? Oh, because they disappeared the night before. And that, like, he literally wrote his own log line and then was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to work through that. And so he didn't even know where this was going to go until he started putting the stamp on it to figure it out. And so I think when you do that, you are just naturally going to put things in here that whether you wanted to or not, they're there, man. Like you can't put an AK over a suburban house that is a film about missing kids.
Not to get nerdy.
Oh yeah, there you go. Thank you. Even worse, even more American, and even more school shooting. You can't do that and tell me that was not intentional. Tell me that is not a theme that is ever present in this movie. And even if you don't want to specifically address that and you want to stay apolitical in some way, the truth of the matter is this movie is also about communal trauma. And it's also about our own experiences of a community at loss and what we do with that. And it again seeps into that general paranoia where we just don't trust our neighbor and we need a scapegoat because we don't understand what's happening. And like Luca said up top, rather than actually addressing the problem, we just need someone to blame for what happened. And that's how this whole community is responding. And Archie and Josh Brolin's character is essentially leading the charge because he doesn't know what to do when he's lost his son that he never told I loved him, right? Like he doesn't know what to do with any of that. And so his only response is, yeah, it's the teacher's fault. I don't know why. I don't know how. None of it makes sense to me. But like, someone needs to pay for my child missing, and that's that individualism that we have. That's that American dream patriotism that is clearly a lie. That's the everything is safe in suburbia, and that's also not true. So all of those themes are so prevalent in this, and yes, I get it. That again, I'm going to hammer it because I just see this all the time. Like, I get how all of that can be undone by a witch being in control, but it really is that idea of like, do you know where your kids are? Are your kids really safe? It doesn't matter that all the houses look the same. It doesn't matter that you're all rich. Like, guns are still very present in this country. Like, school shootings still happen in the safest of places, which is the school. Kids go missing. These are things that happen, and we need to address the problem and not just blame. I'm just going to say it, but not just blame immigrants because that's what we think is going on. But yeah, so I think you're right. I think it's okay to interpret those things because I think those things are all there. So we'll go around real quick and just kind of get into, you guys can talk about some specific theme or specific scene that you want to highlight. And then after that, we'll do some final thoughts. So Marty, I'll start with you.
I guess the last thing I want to highlight, especially as we're talking about kind of the school shooting aspect of it, is after Gladys like comes into town, he was already a distant kid, and the Josh Brolin's son is bullying him, and he's just kind of separated, and he's getting quieter and quieter. And when he goes back to the classroom to like steal all the little items from the kids, and Julia Gardner comes in and she's just checking on him, it's like, you've been more quiet than usual. Like, you can kind of get the sense of they're kind of building this kid in the way of being kind of like that isolated loner who comes in and destroys the classroom, you know? And I felt that to be so impactful. And you see this teacher that really cares, can tell that this kid is isolated and wants to be that rock for this kid. And he's just like, no, I'm good, bye. And like, you can see that she's trying to do something. Josh Brolin is trying to do something. Everybody else in this movie is just trying to bury this away and move past it as quickly as possible. Even Benedict Wong's character is just like, oh, like, let's not think about it. Let's not bother this kid. Let's not do this. But like, just that moment of tenderness between Julia Gardner and Alex, like, it like sticks with me.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that scene too. Ethan.
I was really surprised by Luca saying 2 survivors, 17 victims, 217. I was like,
I should have screenshotted your face. It was amazing.
Yeah, because I saw it as something that not only the marketing but like the narration and people in there, they put emphasis on something. Like, we try to find answers and put blame and look at things where like, oh, this has to mean something, when in reality it might just be coincidental. Because the way I watched the film, it's like she was just like doing stuff like la-di-da-di-da-di-da 216 before it happened. It doesn't go to the clock and be like 217. It's like she just coincidentally, it just happened to be at 217 because she was just going through it fast, like, I want to get all this done, like, let's go. So I think that's really interesting how we try to focus on stuff that is not the problem, and we're not getting to the root of everything, and we're fighting each other instead of looking for actual solutions. I don't know. I feel like everything that I kind of want to say has been said, really. I love all the tracking shots in this movie. Oh my god. And back to the whoever mentioned the girls in The Shining being referenced by Cregger, because there's very much like The Shining, like, foreboding tracking shots, like when Julie Garner is once again getting some alcohol and you see the cop's wife just like about to kill this person.
I love that, because she is just in the foreground the entire time. She is never in focus until she actually comes into Julia Garner's frame, which is just incredible. Like that. Anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll pass it along because somebody else probably has something bigger to say. Sorry.
All right, Luca.
I wanted to touch on how different this movie could have been, because the cast got completely messed up because of the writer's strikes. And one thing that I just can't get out of my head is that Pedro Pascal was supposed to be Josh Brolin's character. And I mean, I'm not going to say thank God for the strikes, but like Brolin, like, and all love to Pedro Pascal. I love him. I love Pedro Pascal. I don't think he would have fit into like the kind of like don't tread on me type of dad that Josh Brolin does in this.
He's not commanding, like overbearing enough.
Yeah, like he's like Pedro Pascal. I don't know. I think he'd fit more like as like Benedict Wong's character is more like subdued, nice, and soft, but like not as like this like hard ass. You know, hey, excuse me, can I look at the footage of your kid going missing type dude? Like I don't. That's not Pedro Pascal. Like I think Renata Rensva from Worst Person in the World was supposed to be Julia Garner, which I honestly would have liked to see. I think, I mean, all love to Julia Garner. I think she's great. But if I do have access to an alternate universe where I could watch the Renata Rensva cut, I would at least take a look, at the very least. But what really got me was that Brian Tyree Henry was supposed to be Benedict Wong's character.
Oh, wow.
Which gets me not only because of how unhinged Benedict Wong gets, but because one of my friends compared this to like one of like the more horror adjacent episodes of Atlanta, like the Donald Glover show, because it definitely feels like it kind of feels like this would be an episode that Lakeith Stanfield's character would like accidentally stumble upon, but it does put in perspective how like this cast makes the movie, like. And I really want to touch on Brolin just because I just haven't seen Brolin do stuff like this before. Like, I've never seen him get this emotional, just emotional like that. I've always seen him kind of like as a more stoic character, but just the scene where he's just like sobbing at the side of his kid's bed is just, it's so impactful. Or, you know, his kind of like dead stare while he's laying in Matthew's bed and his wife just kind of like, I'm going to work, and he just doesn't even say anything. It's just such an affecting and cold performance until it finally warms up a little. And kudos to Brolin, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, I almost, and I feel bad because I haven't given him enough credit. But I think that's also because I think some of the other characters that I really like to highlight in this discussion are over the top on purpose, right? Like, you've got your Amy Madigans, you've got your Benedict Wong, who's just doing this incredibly subtle comedic type of performance, but he gets to be unhinged. You get Julia Garner, who does get to be, you know, pretty unhinged at points, and she gets to do some pretty funny things. And so all of the characters get these moments, and I feel like Brolin is really confined and restrained on purpose. He's supposed to be. Yes, he has his, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to yell. And I'm just going to throw everything away to try to create chaos and solve this myself, right? And he's got that resolve, but you do see cracks in that armor for the first time. And I think he does a really good job. And to your point, this is not the role for Pedro Pascal. I think I don't have anything against him. I'm not on Pascal fatigue. You know, I think there are some roles he probably shouldn't have, and I don't think he does the best job. But this one, we are all the better for having somebody like Brolin in this role, because I think it has a totally different energy. And last thing I'll say on this is just, I think you're right. The cast absolutely makes this movie. This is a very difficult movie to pull off. Cregger is going full throttle with ambition and really trying to put all of those things out there. And I think he definitely levels up as a director, as a filmmaker. When we talked about those tracking shots, I think his ability to place the camera in the right place at the right time, linger for just long enough, where to cut, like all of the way that he frames this suburban town is just absolutely phenomenal. Like, you would think that this man has been making cinema for 20 years, and this is his sophomore feature film. Like, that's the level of skill we're talking about when it comes to the camera work. And so I think all of those things are really great, but it just simply doesn't work if you don't have Carrie Christopher as Alex. You don't have Julia Garner as this teacher. You don't have this shocker of Amy Madigan just showing up and just serving in just a completely against type character too. She's never done anything like this before. As this kind of, and she's incredible. So yeah, I think the cast really, really sells it. So we'll do final thoughts and then we'll kind of end here. For my part, just because I'm talking, so I'll keep the through line going. For my part, I absolutely love this movie. I think this is a movie that will get better on a rewatch, even though I walked away from it pretty high. I always give extra credit to movies that just do not leave my mind and just sit in my brain. I know Ethan had said it where he was like, yeah, I saw it a few days ago and it's right here. Like, it's right here at the top of my forehead. And that's how it's been for me. I saw this movie almost a week ago from our discussion now. And I haven't thought about anything else. And I've watched plenty of movies since then. And I just can't stop thinking about this movie. And when when that's what you give me, you're always going to win. I love movies that do that. I love movies that force discussion, that force discourse, that force you to start peeling back every layer that you can, get into individual scenes, get into individual characters, get into things you liked, argue with people that didn't like it, and find out why. Those are the best kinds of movies for me. And those movies have such an evergreen quality. I think this is going to be a movie that we're going to talk about for a very long time. I don't think this is a flash in the pan type of horror. I think people are going to continually reflect on it. They're going to find new things. They're going to pore over the text, and maybe they find things that are there. Maybe they find things that aren't. But no matter what, you're going to find something from this movie, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, go see Weapons. I absolutely adored it. Marty, final thoughts.
I agree with everything you just said. I literally saw this like 2 days ago, and it's literally anytime I have a moment to myself, it's all I can think about. It's like a parasite. It's sucking on you. It's growing in you. And just even the score, thinking about it, like will send shivers up my spine. I need to take a listen to that. But I can't wait to rewatch this movie. I can't wait to investigate. And now that I've seen the puzzle in full, seeing how it kind of is placed together again, I'm just so excited for it. And yeah, I think this is a film that will stick with you, that you just can't shut up about. And I think by the end of the year, this is going to be at a lot of people's talk.
Yeah. Ethan.
I was going to say it's a testament to how deep this movie is because it's the longest episode of this week on ForReel, but somehow you managed to talk about Fantastic Four for an hour and 43 minutes? How'd you do that?
Listen, that movie needed a lot of fixing. So that's mostly what we were doing. We were making the movie better, I think.
Yeah, we're mostly in consensus here.
Yeah, that's also true. No detractions on this one.
Yeah, we are kind of in consensus here, but there was something I wanted to mention, but I seem to have forgotten it, and I don't want to waste people's time. So, good movie. I want to watch it a million times. I hope this one actually gets a goddamn disc I can put in my Blu-ray player.
Yeah,
praying.
Luca.
Oh, fuck. I remembered. Oh. Sorry. Wait. I'm forcing you to wait. Is that
we're not done with this perspective yet. We haven't switched chapters yet. Yeah.
I do want to mention the thing that many people have already talked about. I think it's the top review on Letterboxd, but that it's so funny that Jordan Peele fired his agent for losing the bidding war. Okay.
Yeah, that's strong. Luca. Yeah.
Sorry.
Not to worry about. So you guys were saying that like this movie's just been like sitting in your heads. And every movie that does that for me is a movie with one good song. And the opening scene where they play George Harrison's Beware of Darkness over the kids running is just so affecting.
I legitimately just got goosebumps thinking about it right now.
I have
goosebumps. Said it out loud.
We're twinning. I have goosebumps
oh my God,
too.
Yeah, so good.
It's such a haunting scene. And it kind of made me think like how dreary George Harrison's solo work is. But regarding Weapons, great movie, gets better on rewatch. There's stuff that you'll notice, like a little twinge of orange hair, maybe in an interrogation scene. But fuck me, if that last 10 or 20 minutes doesn't get you excited for Zach Cregger's Resident Evil, I don't know what will.
Oh, yes, please.
Give this dude a zombie movie tomorrow, tonight, now. It's gotta happen. I'm so excited.
And then hopefully he doesn't make sequels so he can go back to making original movies.
Yep. No Paul W.S. Anderson's here.
Yeah, no, we're good. And if anybody needs to know, I am the reason Paul W.S. Anderson keeps making those movies. It's my fault. I'm sorry. We all have guilty pleasures, guys. They're all in a mental. Yep. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining. This has been awesome. Honestly, we could probably push this to 2 hours if we wanted to beat Fantastic Four, but we won't do that. I want to do in classic Ethan fashion. Now that we've already gone over the spoilers, I do want to show my favorite marketing gift I've ever gotten, which is a potato peeler.
What?
Yes. Yeah, so at the screening that I had, they had shirts and posters. I was telling Marty this, but at the screening, they had shirts and posters. I don't need more posters in my room. I have too many, so I didn't grab that. But I grabbed the shirt, which I'm wearing now. And then they waited until everybody was leaving the theater to start handing out these potato peelers. And so it was just this one last laugh as you leave the theater. As you walk out, you've got all the shit banging around in your brain, and then someone hands you a potato peeler that was used to carve Alden Ehrenreich's face. Is just, chef's kiss.
Almost
what a way
as
to
good
end
as
it.
the cheese grater from Evil Dead Rise.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. So, yeah, thank you guys so much. Real quick, where can everybody find you? Marty?
I am on Twitter at Marty_Milkman, also writing reviews at ForReel.
Awesome. Luca?
You can find me on various social media platforms at Luca M8A. And you can also find my work on ForReel, where I wrote a very good, I think, review for weapons that you should read.
It is very good. I edited it.
It's a great
excellent.
review.
It's an excellent piece. Yeah. Ethan?
You can find me at letterboxd.com/FUN_MAN_. My editing portfolio is there. You can also click on that and give me money, because I do sometimes donate my editing efforts to the ForReel. So yeah, I always like more money. Give me money. Give me money.
Yeah. Love it. And then you guys can find me on most socials at DRock Comedy. That's DROK Comedy. You can find all my reviews, including this written review for weapons, on nerdbot.com. And then just continue to check back all of our wonderful content at This Is For Real from all these great contributors. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next movie. Bye, everyone.
Bye.